Well, Mr. Gérard Biraud, former chairman of the Joint Inspection Unit for the United Nations, thank you very much for joining us. You've just given a lecture on some of your experiences whilst you've been working through also in the United Nations and the Foreign Ministry for France. Could you tell us a little bit about what you spoke about today and how it's linked to sort of the theme of the conference?
Cultural diplomacy and sustainable development. I came to this day, to this conference, hoping, and I think it's true, that I would learn much about these two couples of words and what they represent. And I'm glad about the discussions we had and the answers given to my questions on this theme by Mr. Dunfree. And basically, it's also a new name for things for which I was rather prepared by my life in these various capacities, and also by some ethical choices. And now that I am out of any duty, also political choices, that I could speak friendly and freely about what is at the heart of development. I was happy that this was also shared by a number of people, both from the panel, from the various other keynote speakers, and from the audience, from the house. That basically development, to be sustainable, has to work bottom up. It's a multifaceted thing, beginning and growing from local communities, and they have to organize themselves to progressively send important messages to their national authorities, but also to do all what they can do by themselves before trying to get any external help from the country or from external donors. And I have worked and written on this theme several decades ago, and I'm glad to see that it's now confirmed very much.
So what have you seen develop over these decades? Because you uniquely come from a position of somebody who has had such an extensive career in such diverse areas of the United Nations, that it means that you can sort of have a general overview of the progress that's been made towards sustainable development.
Well, I came to development matters at a time where everyone was very hopeful about it. In the 60s and the 70s, especially about Africa. As many people, I had to record some disappointments in terms of results. I had to see that just discussing between governmental structures of donors and recipient countries could squeeze and decrease the flow of resources, and practically with no much results where the needs are, especially the basic needs are. So I'm glad that after many years of work, disappointing work, Africa has found a situation with better, I'm speaking about Africa because that's where I had most of my practical experience. Africa has found better terms of exchange and began to finally, including through the women, the efforts made by the women could begin to accumulate some experience and some ways of developing itself. We are far from any victory on the poverty, but there are certainly good results, and around them, around these countries, a better sense of what everyone should do. It's no longer a matter of paternalistic charity. It's clearly working together around the same table, on the same needs, for the same populations. And that is exactly the meaning that the French delegation, as a hosting country, tried to give to the first UN conference on least developed countries. So it's already old, 1981, but the spirit is there, and in a way UNDP has continued in this line with the roundtables organized regularly in Geneva around those countries.
Okay. And just as a quick wrap-up to the questions today, we're trying to gauge a consensus amongst the speakers about what they think the most effective route to achieving sustainable development will be. And what do you think that could be?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So, for example, some other recommendations have been securing economic prosperity and then working from there to try and attain this sustainable development that seems to be so out of reach at the moment. Other suggestions have been solidifying infrastructure, these kinds of suggestions.
Yeah, I think that basically this symposium is not organized to give any technical answers. There are specialized agencies to do it, each one in its sector. But what has begun to be done is to define the spirit in which these efforts, including with the best competences, including in technical aspects, should be done. So I hope that the next 2 days will confirm this kind of philosophy which is appearing from the discussions we had now today, and certainly we have a kind of consensus on what the situation is in many countries, what kind of governance should be addressing this situation, and with which kind of qualities by those who would do that. And I was quoting openness as a major element, which is openness to various disciplines, various aspects, humility before what the other actors can bring, bringing together, bridging. All these words have been used in the by the various keynote speakers, and I think it's this philosophy which can remain from such a meeting rather than any technical solution. We are coming from two different horizons and backgrounds to work on the technical aspects. But I had the feeling of some kind of consensus emerging on the moral, ethical, philosophical, and general aspects of both the notions of cultural diplomacy and the notion of sustainable development.
Yeah, well, that's a great consensus to come to. Okay, so thank you very much for your time, and really appreciate your input today. So thank you very much, Mr. Gérard Biraud.
My pleasure.
Thank you.